Hi everyone, this is BritSimon. We're entering the final days of the DV 2019 lottery. Let's make sure you don't miss out on your golden opportunity. Okay, as I say, we're entering the final days. I really want to make sure that none of you miss out on this opportunity. Once the year is over, the year is over. There's nothing we can do about it. So let's make sure those of you that are hoping for your green card get that sorted out. Right. So just to explain the timeline here, today is August 1st. I'm sitting here in California enjoying the weather, and I want you to be doing the same. The two NLs were sent out a couple of days ago for the September interviews. Those two NLs were probably mostly the final two NLs that will go out for September interviews. What you have to understand is that the lottery process is a year-to-year, month-to-month process. So later on in August, around about between the 15th and the 31st of August, KCC will be sending out interview appointments for October, which will be for DV 2020. So the preparation work that they're doing for that between the 1st and the 15th is going on now. It's already started, and they have less and less time to deal with DV 2019. I think they may try and schedule some more appointments for September, but it's not a certainty. So I'll talk about that in a moment. Just so you're aware, the 30th of September is the end of the DV 2019 program. No appointments can be made after that date, and you really need to consider that as being a hard stop. So we're getting very close to the end now, and you need to be aware of that. Okay, so just covered over the first point there. Hopefully you're sitting there, you have your 2NL for your September interview. I hope so. I know some of them were they didn't send them out quite as early in the month, like the 15th, as they normally do. They waited a few days. That gave me the impression they were trying to arrange more interviews. I hope that's the case. I hope they've made as many interviews as possible. As I mentioned, there might be a small possibility, I want to stress this, a small possibility of some 2NLs being sent in the first few days of August up until maybe the 8th, 9th, 10th, that sort of date. But that's not a certainty. It won't be many if there are more interviews, and I can't say which countries or which regions would be included and what sort of cases. I do know that people that submitted their documents too late, like let's say from around about the middle of July onwards, were being told that they had submitted too late and that no interview would be scheduled for their case. So there has been a kind of a cutoff in terms of when the documents have been sent in. But what I'm thinking is that people who had their documents in and approved and accepted by KCC in early July may have a chance of getting an interview set up in the next few days, but as I say, I can't say for sure that's going to happen. And then, as I already mentioned, from the middle of August, KCC will be sending out 2NLs for October interviews for DV 2020. So here's some advice for people scheduled for August and September interviews. Over prepare for your interview. Make sure you got all of your personal documents. I'll put a link at the end of the video on how to prepare for your interview. Do not go to your interview unprepared. Be over prepared, in fact. Make sure you've got more documentation than you think you'll need. Certainly have all the basic documents, your birth certificate, your passport, all the marriage documents, any military documents you need, whatever you need, right? Make sure that the documents you have, according to the official instructions, that you have all of those documents, that you have translations where needed, that you have copies where needed, and that you are prepared properly for your interview. It's unforgivable to have this sort of opportunity and not properly prepare for your interview, and you will regret it for the rest of your life if you don't take this opportunity. Also, make sure you've got police certificates. If you are one of those people that submitted your police certificates with your documents early, and those police certificates are now old, let's say they're over 3 months, perhaps over 6 months old, I would suggest that you consider getting a new copy of your police certificate for your own country, the country you're living in currently. The reason for that is you could try and rely on the police certificate that you sent to KCC already, but if the CO performing your interview decides that that certificate is too old and would prefer a new one, you'll be limited on time to get a new one. So for the sake of it, for the sake of a few dollars of cost perhaps, I would personally advise you to get a new police certificate if you feel that's a concern. You should have been booking your medicals already. Your medical needs to be performed before the interview. Don't try and leave it until after the interview. Don't expect the embassy to arrange the medical for you. If you read the instructions for your embassy in particular, you will find how to book your medical, and you need to get on with that. Don't forget there's other people trying to book the same thing, and the number of places for a medical are limited. So make sure you're taking care of that. I also suggest strongly that you take care of financial proof. A lot of people argue with me about this point every time. They insist that it's not necessary for them to take financial proof to the interview. Well, if you don't, you're a fool. I can't stress this enough. It's silly to gamble your interview success on being not prepared properly on financials. If you read the original instructions from when you entered the lottery, it has a note in there that you could be asked for an I-134. You could be asked to prove how you'll financially support yourself. That's a normal part of immigration law, and the embassy don't have to tell you about it. But they will and they can apply that law to your case. And that varies how that will happen. It will vary from embassy to embassy. It'll vary from case to case. But the reality is that rule will be applied in some way to your case. And if I were you, I would prepare for that. Okay. Delays caused by missing documents at this point could easily cost you the green card. If you're going for interview in, let's say, mid to late September, and you have some document missing, and you have to get that back to the embassy within a few days, you are highly likely to lose your green card. It doesn't matter how much you want it. If you delay because you're not prepared properly in the interview and you have to come back with some other document, that will be your fault, your problem. And whether it's your problem and your fault or not, after the 30th of September, nobody can be issued a green card for DV 2019. Visas will not run out for any region. There have been Egyptian cases contacted by the Cairo embassy explaining that they've reached a 7% limit for the country of Egypt. It's only affected cases that are under AP from previous months, and it does not affect, as far as I'm aware, any cases that are scheduled for interview in August or September. So that's something that's going on. Most of the cases that are at risk because of that limit will have been contacted by this time already. I strongly suggest you don't reschedule your appointment at this time. If you are not happy with the choice of embassy that KCC has chosen for you, unless it's absolutely impossible for you to attend the interview on that day or in that location, I suggest you don't change it. There could easily be some confusion, some delay introduced. You could easily miss out on your green card because of that. As I mentioned, no case can continue processing after the September the 30th, but the entry into the USA can be after September 30th. So, for example, you could be interviewed on September 29th. They could issue the visa to you that day or the next day, let's say, and you would have up to 6 months after the medical date to enter the USA, which means that there will be DV 2019 selectees entering the USA well into 2020, right? So it's subject to the visa expiry date, the end of the the program is not necessarily the end of the day. The end of the day for entry into the USA. Okay, so I'm hoping that's clarified a few points that I'm regularly asked about. I encourage you, as I say, to over prepare, take your opportunity, come and join me in America, and have a great life. Have a look at the links at the end of this video. As I say, I'll put a link in there about preparing for the interview, and please have a great day. Bye now.